Move it out of my life. Get out of my life. There's too much pain and strife. Why don't you pack it up and move it? Take your packet and caboodle. Take your broken down car and your smelling cigar. Why don't you move right out of my life?
Watching the spark between everyone while filming this. I know it's the first time for the audio and for those who are recording and all the actors on stage. So I'll say watching the spark behind that was my favorite part of it.
Well, it was watching everybody adapt to the process. I tried to instill in them what an exciting and different way it was to work, but they took a leap of faith. And I am so happy that it worked as well as it did, because it could have been a train wreck.
My favorite part about working with Dreamgirls was definitely getting to go through this experience with people similar to my culture, especially the people around the Mansfield area. You don't really see people of color featured in a lot of theaters around here, so it was really nice for all of us to come together and get to do this experience as one.
I think for me, it was sort of the instant gratification, because when you're putting together a live performance, so many different aspects have to come together, and you never really see what that's going to look like or feel that until opening night, and you have an audience in front of it. And with this, you look at the screen and you see it come together. You see the scenes start to move, you make adjustments, and it was kind of magic.
There was a lot less pressure due to the fact that we could, if something messed up, we could just do another take. However, there was an added pressure, though, from that same thing. The fact that you didn't want to be the reason we had to take several takes over and over and over.
The story of Dreamgirls really did impact me. You don't really realize how much has to change behind the scenes in order to appeal to a specific audience. Like Effie getting kicked out of the lead spot for me just because the audience would like the way that I looked better, and your sound to appeal more to a white audience.
The story of Dreamgirls was not one that I was very familiar with, and upon working on it, I really figured out quite quickly how rough the African American community had it in terms of having their music being stolen from them and being used in ways that they had never anticipated, and also just being pretty cheated when it came to the music industry.
So Ryan Shreve and I would talk a lot about what the camera movements were going to be, and ultimately you get these these dramatic songs and scenes, and a lot of it needs to be sweeping and moving, and we don't have a full film crew, and it's literally just him with his gimbal. And so there were definitely a few points where he'd move and it'd be this really dramatic part, and he at one point tripped over a light and just went down. I think he did it twice. And I can laugh about it now because number one, he didn't get hurt, and number two, he saved the camera.
Oh dear Lord. Yeah. The funniest part I'll say is when I had to drop my pants, because I had to put in my mind and tell myself that it's all right. This is supposed to happen. So yeah.
All of the bloopers were very funny. I remember walking on and just tripping and staring at Dion and trying to continue doing my lines, and it just couldn't happen.
I think the collaborative nature of the creative process is very different. I've worked in recording studios with artists. I've worked in churches on live sound, music festival live sound. I've been a touring artist and musician for years. And all of those have some level of collaboration, but in all of those venues, I've kind of been one of the primary sources of creativity. And at the Renaissance, it really, really feels like a collaborative effort from every member of the cast all the way through to the tech crew. The musical direction, the artistic direction, the production value, just everybody is bringing all of themselves to the table. And I've never really experienced that before in other spaces that I've worked in. But I also think that's how you can crank out a 140-minute, mostly live theater production for film in 2 weeks. And I just think that is a miraculous team to be on, to be able to pull off something like Dreamgirls as quickly as we did, truly at the quality level that I think we did.
The Ren is different from many other venues because they really go out of their way to find creative ways to let us perform and use our outlet and be as creative as possible. They really find a new way to do things no matter what. If they're faced with any blocks, they're like, you know what, we're actually going to do this, and we're going to fight back, and we're going to be strong, and we're going to get through this.
What's different about the Ren is that we have so many individuals, especially on this creative team, that have worked in different industries, like in music and film and television, and they all come and they bring these different collaborative ideas to make each production something that nobody else is doing. They do something tech-wise, or they do something with the actors that you would think, wow, why has that never been done before? So I think that the Renaissance truly brings something different in that aspect, and it's pretty special to be a part of that production.
The community of people itself, there's just I feel a deeper connection between the individuals that I get to work with while I'm here, which leads to much higher levels of comfortability when I'm on stage, or even when I'm not on stage, just getting things situated or scheduled. I feel very confident and comfortable messaging people and letting somebody know what's going on with me or why I can or can't make it to something.
I'm going to speak specifically to the pandemic, because what we did, it's kind of like what they say about a shark. A shark has to keep moving or else it dies. We kept moving at the Renaissance, and we kept doing things obviously with an eye to safety and keeping people, healthy. But we tried to think of a way to keep things going, and I think that our team is so spectacular. I'm not saying other theater teams are not spectacular, but the amount of product that we put out, the performances that we put out there are just astounding when you think about it, and that is a credit to our performers and our artistic team here. I just don't know any other theater like it. They've been so wonderful, and with something like Dreamgirls, I said to them, what if we just did Dreamgirls? And I got yeses from everybody. And who would have thought in the middle of a pandemic we could have done something like that? So that to me, it means an awful lot.
One thing I wanted to accomplish with this production in particular was set a new standard for the way virtual theater is being done. We're finding, throughout the pandemic, a lot of theaters across the world are having to find ways to do theater or just do nothing at all. And I think at the Ren, we really decided to innovate and do things differently here and still create art and provide art and culture for the community in Mansfield and Ohio and across the world. And I'm really lucky to be a part of an organization that allows us to do that.
It was very important to us to create a bridge to the African American community in Mansfield. We had talked to several representatives and who said that they never felt the Ren was a safe place for them to work, not safe physically, but safe artistically. They didn't feel like this was a place they could come and be themselves and find a voice. And we wanted to change that. We wanted to make sure that that was no more. And so continue our programming on shows like At Last and Ain't Misbehavin', and also just the integration of this sort of cultural diversity into all our shows is very important to us. But for something like Dreamgirls that is so close to the heart of so many people, we wanted to make sure that we did it in a great way. And I am so pleased with those bridges that we have made into all areas of the community.
I honestly just expected it to be just recorded like any other live show. We do the whole thing once, and it's all just one shot. But I didn't expect it to be an entire film between scene after scene after scene, and edit it all together to create this beautiful masterpiece.
I'll be honest and say I expected it to be more stressful, and I'm not saying it wasn't, but very quickly it became clear that the entire team was on the same page and kind of got in this workflow where we all knew our place and we knew our parts and what we had to do, because we only had 2 weeks to get this done. And so I think I expected it to be much more complex, and by some force it just worked.